Hey everyone, welcome back to Corporate Decoder, the place where we decode the corporate jungle in exciting ways today. We're diving into a filing that has got some serious news about a company's stock status and a crucial shareholder vote. This report is all about RYVYL Incorporated, and not just any update, but a significant one that could determine if their stock stays on the big board. We're talking about potential delisting and how shareholders are weighing in on some major company decisions. So our story today is about RYVYL Incorporated, a company that is facing some headwinds, and on the 11th of December 2025, they got some not so pleasant news from Nasdaq, the stock exchange. It turns out RYVYL has been struggling to keep its stock price above the $1 minimum requirement for a while now. Back in June, the Nasdaq folks warned RYVYL that their stock price was too low and they were given a deadline of the 9th of December to fix it. Unfortunately, they missed that deadline, and to make matters worse, they also don't meet a separate requirement about having at least $5 million in stockholders' equity. This means Nasdaq is threatening to delist RYVYL's common stock from the Nasdaq capital market. And this wasn't just a casual chat, this is a formal notification that if RYVYL doesn't do something drastic by the 22nd of December, their stock will be kicked off the exchange. That is a big deal because it can make it much harder for investors to buy and sell the stock. But RYVYL isn't just sitting back and letting this happen. On the 15th of December, they held their annual meeting of stockholders where they discussed some important proposals. And here is where the shareholders come in. They voted on 4 key things. First up was the election of directors. George Oliver, Brett Moyer, Gene Jones, and Todd Browndorf were all up for re-election. The votes show good support for all of them, with between 17.7 million and 17.8 million votes cast in favour of each nominee. It looks like the shareholders trust the current leadership to steer the ship. Next, they voted on ratifying the appointment of Simon & Edward LLP as their independent registered public accounting firm for 2025. This is a standard procedure to ensure the company's financial statements are checked by an outside auditor. The stockholders overwhelmingly approved this with over 23 million votes in favour. That is a strong endorsement of the auditors. Now things get a bit more interesting. Proposal number 3 was about giving the board of directors the go-ahead to enact a reverse stock split. This is a move often made when a company's stock price is low to artificially increase it. They can consolidate shares, for example, turning 20 old shares into one new share, or even 50 old shares into one new share. The board has the discretion to decide the exact ratio and when to do it, but it has to be done by the 30th of June next year. And guess what? The stockholders approved this too, though, with a bit more opposition than the previous proposals. Over 21.7 million votes were for it, and about 1.5 million were against. Finally, proposal number 4 was to increase the number of authorized shares of common stock. Right now, they have 100 million authorized shares, and they want to bump that up to a massive 500 million shares. This also got the green light from shareholders with a similar vote count to the reverse stock split, around 21.7 million votes in favour and about 1.4 million against. This move suggests the company might be planning for future financing needs or acquisitions. So back to that Nasdaq delisting threat, RYVYL acknowledges this and they've already appealed Nasdaq's decision. They've formally requested a hearing with the Nasdaq hearings panel. This appeal puts a pause on the delisting process while the panel reviews their case. To really boost their chances, RYVYL is planning to submit a plan to regain compliance. Their strategy hinges on that reverse stock split, which, as we saw, the shareholders approved. They believe this split, coupled with some recent capital infusions, will help them meet the minimum bid price requirements and the stockholder equity requirements. They're pretty confident that after the reverse stock split, they'll be back in compliance with Nasdaq and their stock will continue to trade on the Nasdaq capital market. They are hoping to get back on track in the coming weeks. However, the company is also being realistic and acknowledging that there are no guarantees. They admit that they might not be able to regain or maintain compliance with all of Nasdaq's listing rules. There is always a chance the panel might not grant them an extension or their plan might not work out. It is a high-stakes situation for RYVYL. To keep everyone informed, RYVYL issued a press release on the 17th of December summarizing all of this, the results of their annual meeting, the Nasdaq notice, and their plan to fix the stock price issue. This press release is also filed with the CAC as an exhibit, essentially a public announcement detailing their situation and their strategy. Now, looking at this, RYVYL is in a precarious position. On one hand, the shareholders have shown tremendous support for the board and their proposed solutions like the reverse stock split. This is a positive sign that the company has a unified front. However, the core problem isn't going away on its own. A reverse stock split is like putting a band. Aid on a wound, it might make the wound look smaller, but it doesn't heal the underlying issue if the business itself doesn't improve. The company's ability to regain compliance hinges on the effectiveness of the reverse stock split and whether they can genuinely attract investors back to their stock. The mention of receiving sufficient capital to evidence compliance with the stockholder equity requirement is encouraging, but the proof will be in the pudding. The biggest risk here is that this is all a temporary fix. If the business performance doesn't catch up to the stock price adjustments, RYVYL could find itself back in this situation, or worse, facing even more stringent requirements. The opportunity, however, is that if they can successfully navigate this period and the reverse stock split combined with other initiatives, revitalizes investor confidence they could emerge stronger and more stable. So what is my take? RYVYL is fighting for its life on the Nasdaq. The shareholder votes show confidence in management and a willingness to try bold solutions like the reverse stock split. But the real test will be whether these actions lead to sustained business improvement and a higher stock price over the long term, not just a quick cosmetic fix. They need to focus on the fundamentals of their business to truly secure their place on the exchange. Alright, that is our breakdown of RYVYL Incorporated's latest filing. What is your take on these numbers and what they signal for the company's future? Do you think the reverse stock split will save them or just delay the inevitable? Drop your thoughts in the comments. If this analysis was valuable, hitting that like button really helps, and subscribe for more deep dives. Don't forget to check out the Discord in the description. Thanks for watching. See you next time.